Typical responsibilities of network engineer include designing network layouts and network infrastructure, ensuring network security, configuring networks, installing new software, managing user accounts, managing system security, as well as managing on-premise and cloud server and Active Directory infrastructure. Typically, when interviewing for such position over the phone, Zoom, or in person, you might be asked a lot of technical questions. Typically, these types of questions validate your knowledge on networking concepts, Windows Server, Active Directory, and a lot of other technical topics. This is why we put together this video to help you get ready and pass the interview, and include most typical questions, answers, solutions, and hands-on demos in this video. Let's go ahead and get started. A lot of times you might be asked, what is VPN? VPN, which stands for Virtual Private Network, is a technology which was originally developed to provide secure access to corporate applications and resources for remote and mobile users. Virtual Private Network is established by creating a point-to-point connection through the use of dedicated circuits or through the tunneling protocols over existing networks. In today's world, VPN found another use, as a lot of users would like to use VPN to establish online privacy and anonymity. In addition to providing secure access to office data and establishing users' privacy and anonymity, VPN is also very helpful when you need to protect your data over unsecured Wi-Fi networks. A lot of times during the interview process, you might be asked to describe DNS. DNS stands for Domain Name System, and this is the system to look up between domain names and IP addresses, which uses port 53 for TCP protocol and is also available on UDP. If you type google.com in your internet browser, computer doesn't know what is google.com, and it asks DNS server to do the lookup. DNS system makes it possible for us to type google.com and instead get connected to IP address 216.58.192.174. By the way, you can make a cool experiment and type this IP address right in your browser, and when you hit enter, you will get right into google.com. But I bet you might realize that it's much easier by just typing google.com. DNS architecture on the internet is very sophisticated, and it consists of 4 different layers: DNS recursor, root server, TLD namespaces, as well as authoritative name server. Microsoft Windows Server provides DNS app to help manage DNS in Windows Active Directory architecture. Inside DNS app, you can configure forward lookup zones, reverse lookup zones, trust points, conditional forwarders, and a lot of other things. The query to translate website name into IP address is only one type of queries that DNS provides. In addition to this query, DNS allows for recursive queries, iterative queries, and non-recursive queries. DNS is extremely fascinating topic. If you're interested in DNS, I recommend you type in Google these additional queries for DNS security, DNS zones, DNS root server, primary and secondary DNS, as well as reverse DNS. A lot of times, you might be asked the question during the interview process, what is Active Directory? Active Directory is the directory service which contains the database which was designed and created by Microsoft. Initially, it was only used for centralized domain management, but over the years, it became an umbrella title for the broad range of directory-based services. In addition, for storing user accounts, computers, printers, and all other connected devices information in Active Directory, it also became a place for centralized security and network configuration management. Active Directory stores all information organized in organizational units. Each organizational unit contains user, groups, computers, and other devices information. Organizational units are stored hierarchically and allow easy management by network administrators. A lot of times you might be asked the question, what is network link? Network link is a communication channel that connects 2 or more devices for the purposes of data transmission. Typically, network link may be a dedicated physical link or a virtual circuit that uses 1 or more physical links or shares a physical link with other telecommunication devices. Typically, term network link is used in computer networking to refer to communication devices that connect nodes of the network. There are four main network link types typically recognized: point-to-point, multi-point, point-to-multi-point, and private or public. A lot of times, you might be asked, what is OSI model? OSI stands for Open System Interconnection Framework. Keep in mind that this is only conceptual framework, which describes the functions of the networking and telecommunication systems. It contains 7 main layers: application, presentation, section, transport, network, data link, and physical. OSI model was built as a recommendation on how system should communicate over network to guide vendors and developers. OSI model is also used as a tool to help troubleshoot network problems. An OSI model is also used in communication to describe functions of networking and telecommunication systems. OSI model breaks down communication process into 7 layers, and each layer in the model has its own specific function. Application layer enables user interactions with internet-connected applications, for example, browser or other internet-connected apps. Presentation layer is responsible for translating the data from the application layer. Session layer coordinates conversations between the applications. Transport layer transfers data between systems and hosts and controls the types of data transferred. Network layer is responsible for moving data through the network. And data link layer enables node-to-node data transfer as well as error control. And last but not least, physical layer uses electrical signals to send data from one device to another, which could be done over wired or wireless networks. Each layer in OSI model transmits the data to the layer below and also receives information from the layer above. OSI model was architected to provide comprehensive view of the network, and it includes operating systems, applications, drivers, and hardware to explain everything that's happening in the network. If you like the content, please give this video a big thumbs up. This tells us that you need more content like this, and we'll make sure that you get it in the future. A lot of times, you might be asked, what is backbone network? Backbone network, which is also called core network, typically provides a path for the exchange of information between different LANs or subnetworks. Backbone network can connect together networks in the same building, networks in different buildings, or over wide geographical areas. Typically, backbone networks have much larger throughput capacity than the networks that they connect. Some examples of backbone networks might be a large company that has many locations and may need backbone network to connect all locations together. Another example of backbone network might be internet backbone. Backbone network typically performs at least 4 core functions: aggregation, authentication, switching, and being a gateway as an entry point into the network. There are many different architectural designs of backbone networks, but the most important ones are distributed backbone, collapsed backbone, parallel backbone, as well as the serial backbone. A lot of times, you might be asked, what is LAN? LAN stands for Local Area Network, and LAN typically connects computers or other networking devices that are located within a small physical location. Examples of LANs might be home LAN, school LAN, or small office LAN. Typically, devices on the LAN are connected using Ethernet, which is a wired connection, or using Wi-Fi, which is a wireless connection. Very frequently, you might be asked, what is network node? Node typically refers to the networking endpoint where connection takes place. Physical network node is typically an electronic device that is attached to the network and which is capable of creating, receiving, or transmitting information over a communication channel. Devices could be connected to the network over wired or wireless nodes, and as a very important point, 2 or more nodes are needed to form a network connection. A lot of times, you might be asked, what is a router? Router is a networking device that forwards data packets between computer networks. Routers can connect two or more network segments, and by connecting to these network segments, they establish two or more data lines from different IP networks. Router is a very intelligent network device which stores information in its routing tables, such as path, hops, and bottlenecks. Using this information, router can quickly determine the best path for the data transfers. Router is one of the few devices that operates on the OSI network layer. A lot of times, you might be asked the question, what are the available editions of Windows Server? There are two editions of latest version of Windows Server that are available, Standard Edition and Data Center Edition. There are also two server forms, Server Core and Server Desktop Experience. For example, this is Windows Server Standard Edition with Desktop Experience. To find out what is the edition that we're using, we click on the Start button, type System, select System Information, and we can see that this is Microsoft Server 2019 Standard Edition. In contrast, Windows Server Core will only allow you to access the server through command prompt, either using default commands for Windows Server, through command prompt, or using PowerShell. During Windows Server installation, user is presented with the screen similar to what you see on the left-hand side of the screen. You have multiple choices for each edition. For example, for Standard Edition, you can select Server Core, which is the first choice, or you can select Standard Desktop Experience. In very similar way, you can make selections for Data Center Edition. A lot of times, you might be asked a question during the interview process on how Windows Server is used by the organizations. Windows Server can play different roles based on organizational needs. It can be a web server using IIS, Internet Information Server technology from Microsoft. It can help companies deploy Windows on the workstations using Windows deployment services. It can play a role of Active Directory domain controller, be a DHCP server, DNS server, provide virtualization using Hyper-V technology. It can be a print and document service, as well as the file server. There are multiple ways to see all available roles Windows Server can play right inside Windows Server. Right now, I am inside Server Manager, and I can see available roles by navigating to Manage, Add Roles and Features. I go through the wizard, and as one of the steps in the wizard, Windows Server allows me to see the full list of roles available. A lot of times, you might be asked the question during the interview, what is the latest version of Windows Server? You can always check the latest version of Windows Server by navigating into Settings. For example, if you click Start button, navigate to Settings, select System, select About, and scroll down to Windows Specifications, you can see the edition of your server and version that is currently installed on your server. The latest version of Windows Server at the moment of this video is Windows Server 2019. It has two editions, Standard Edition and Data Center Edition. Microsoft continues to improve the server versions though, and they continue to add additional functionality. The latest release Microsoft is currently testing is 20H2, and if you would like to learn more, you can type in Google Windows 20H2 and a lot of information is available. Please make sure to check out available downloads in the description section of this video. A lot of times, you might be asked the question, where is Active Directory databases located on Windows Server? To make Active Directory services possible, multiple files are involved, but all of these files are located in the system root NTDS folder, which is typically C Windows NTDS. To navigate to this folder, you need to log in with administrative account to Windows Server, go to Drive C, navigate to Windows, find NTDS folder, and open the database files. Keep in mind that sometimes your extensions to the files may not be visible. To enable extensions, you need to click View in the File Explorer, select Options, navigate to View, and choose the right set of options for you to see everything you would like to see. A lot of times, you might be asked the question, what is lingering object in Active Directory? Because Active Directory configuration could be complex and consist of multiple servers, the servers would require data replication. Some actions, like adding and deleting objects, might happen in one server and would need to be replicated to other servers in the configuration. There is also a possibility of some servers being offline without being able to replicate. To better understand lingering objects, we need to understand the concept of tombstone. Tombstone is the deletion request from one of the Active Directory servers. Because multiple different administrators can manage Active Directory domain controllers in multiple different places, they might delete objects independently from each other. In order for Active Directory to remain intact, all the objects in Active Directory would need to be synchronized. But when you delete something, it's technically not physically removed from the database. When Active Directory object, such as user for example, is deleted, it technically remains in the database for a given time, which is known as tombstone lifetime, which uses acronym TSL. If domain controller remains offline for longer than TSL period, deleted objects can still be present because server will never receive replication request. When this occurs, it is known as lingering object. A lot of times you might be asked the question, how do you backup Active Directory? You can configure Active Directory backup in 4 simple steps. The first step is you need to add the server feature, which is called Windows Server Backup. Ideally, you should have a dedicated volume for backups if you're doing backups on the same server, or you can choose the network location. In step 3, you need to configure backup. You need to select the schedule, configuration, destination, as well as complete some additional changes in Windows Scheduler. And last step is execute and validate the backup. Make sure that the backup is actually created, as well as you can do restore from the created backup. To add Windows Server Backup feature, you need to navigate to Server Manager, select Manage, add roles and features, and go through the wizard process. I am going to select role-based or feature-based installation in the next step and click Next. This configuration is only applicable to this server, so I'm going to leave default selection. I'm not adding any additional roles here, and I'm going to select Next. And in the Features section, I am going to select Windows Server Backup and click Next. In the last step, I am going to click Install. Once feature installation is complete, you can click Close button on the wizard. We have completed the first step of Active Directory backup configuration. In the next step, we're going to set up a dedicated volume for backups. To select the dedicated volume for backups, you need to navigate to Computer Management and select Disk Management. In my configuration, I have a dedicated drive, which is the same size as the main drive C, which I am planning to utilize for backups. Your configuration might be different, but the best practice is to have a designated drive as a backup to allow possibility of restore if something happens to your main drive. In step 3, we would need to configure the backup, and this process consists of 4 different steps. We will configure backup schedule, configuration, destination, as well as look at some task scheduler tasks on Windows Server. Windows Server Backup is available as a desktop app on Windows Server. To configure new backup, we would need to click on the backup schedule and go through the wizard process. I am going to click Next on the Getting Started step. Active Directory Database is the native part of the Windows Server. I'm going to select Full Server. In the next step, you would need to specify backup time. You have an option of selecting backup once a day or multiple times a day. I am going to go with the default option and select it as once a day. On this screen, you would need to select a destination for your backups. If you're planning to dedicate the entire drive to just backups, you can go with option 1. I'm going to select the option 2 because I'm planning to use my drive for some other backups, maybe for external applications that are outside of Windows Backup. And the last option here, based on your configuration, you can also choose to backup to a network shared drive. In Destination Volume, I am going to select Add and add my drive E. I'm going to select OK on this confirmation screen and click Next. In the last step, I'm going to review and confirm my backup configuration. Once confirmed, you can navigate back to the Windows Server Backup app and confirm that there is a scheduled backup. Ultimately, what Windows Backup app did is created a task in the Windows Task Scheduler. I am going to launch the Task Scheduler and look at some settings that I might need to change. Created task is located under Task Scheduler Library, Microsoft, Windows, Backup. You can access task's properties by selecting the task and choosing Properties. Same properties are also available at the bottom portion of the screen. One important setting to verify is to make sure that the backup is running under System Account, which is true in my case. As a next step, I am going to navigate to the Settings section of Properties. Here on the Settings screen, you would like to make sure that this task will stop if it runs for longer than 3 days. And in the last but not least step, I would like to make sure that the backup actually runs without waiting until the scheduled runtime. I also would like to make sure that I can run the task on demand. To do that, I navigate to Properties tab, select Settings, and check Allow Task to Run on Demand. Once I click OK on this screen, I would like to validate to make sure that the backup can execute without me waiting until the scheduled time. To do that, I'm going to select the task and click Run. Not much is happening on the screen, but you can navigate to File Explorer, go to the E drive, which is my destination for the backup, and see that we do have Windows Image Backup folder created, and backup just started for the server. Thanks for watching. I encourage you to check out our daily question challenge in the community section of this channel. I also recommend that you check downloads in the description section of this video. Please also check out resources page on our website, howtoanalyzedata.net/resources. If you like the content, please give this video a big thumbs up. This tells us that you need more content like this. I would encourage you to share this video with other people that might be looking for the job. This will help them to get prepared and pass assessment test faster. Please consider subscribing and following this channel. We have a community of great people helping each other to get ready and pass the test. Please leave questions, comments, or suggestions in the comment section of this video. And all the best on your interview and assessment test. Thanks for watching.